Sometimes the strangest kind of exhaustion comes after almost nothing. You answered a few texts, had one conversation, sat in one room, and still feel spent. It confuses people around you. It may even confuse you, because your day did not look hard from the outside. But highly aware people do not only live through what happens, they also live through what they notice, what they absorb, and what their mind keeps processing afterward. That is why doing very little can still feel like doing too much. Your body stayed mostly still, but your inner world never did. You might wake up already tired, even after a full night of sleep, not because you were lazy, but because your system rarely drops all the way into true rest. Part of you is still listening, still scanning tone, tension, facial shifts, unfinished tasks, and the emotional weather inside every room. Some people move through the day touching life lightly. You move through it with your full nervous system. A short exchange can stay with you for hours. A small change in someone's voice can follow you into the evening. You may look calm while it is happening, but inside, your mind is quietly sorting everything at once. The words they said, the words they almost said, the pause before the answer, the feeling behind the smile. This is the part many people never see. Your exhaustion is not always caused by activity, but by awareness load. Because awareness has weight. Not dramatic weight, not obvious weight, but the slow invisible kind that builds all day. You notice the noise in a person's laugh when they are forcing it. You notice when a room feels off before anyone says a word. You notice your own reaction while also noticing everyone else's. And that double attention costs more than people realize. Even peaceful places can tire you out when your mind never stops interpreting. Silence does not always feel quiet when you are still internally translating everything. That is why rest can feel strangely unreachable. You sit down, but your mind does not put anything down with you. You replay a conversation while brushing your teeth. You remember a look someone gave you 3 hours ago. You wonder if your reply sounded cold. You wonder if they were more upset than they admitted. By nighttime, the world is finally quieter, and that is often when your backlog begins to speak. The body gets still, but the mind opens every unfinished tab. Small moments you ignored all day suddenly return with full volume. This is why highly aware people often feel exhausted in ways that seem out of proportion. Their depletion is delayed, layered, and mostly invisible. It does not always hit during the moment itself. It hits later, when the system finally has space to feel what it was carrying. You can leave a coffee date thinking you are fine, then crash 2 hours later like something in you is quietly powered down. You could make one phone call and need silence after, not because the call was terrible, but because it asked more of your mind than anyone could measure. Every interaction has details: tone, timing, expectation, emotional nuance, self-monitoring, and the effort of responding in a way that feels right. For a highly aware person, social energy is rarely just social. It is sensory, emotional, mental, and physical all at once. You are reading the room while trying to stay present. You are feeling your reaction while trying not to overreact. You are adjusting your words while watching how they land. Even a simple moment can become a lot to carry. And if you are used to looking composed, people assume it cost you nothing. Calm on the outside gets mistaken for ease on the inside. But composure is not the same thing as comfort. Some people are silently holding 100 tiny impressions while smiling politely. That constant inner holding creates a very specific kind of fatigue. It feels like your brain has been standing all day. Not sprinting, not collapsing, just standing, bracing, monitoring, and never fully leaning its weight down. Highly aware people are often praised for being thoughtful, considerate, intuitive, and mature. What gets missed is the recovery time those traits quietly require. Because deep noticing is not just a gift, it is also ongoing input. And the brain does not treat all input equally. Emotional signals, social tension, and subtle unpredictability can be harder to dismiss than obvious noise. That is why you may feel more drained by a tense dinner than by a long errand. One asked more from your nervous system, even if it looked easier. Your mind may keep rehearsing situations long after they are over, not because you enjoy overthinking, but because your system hates loose emotional threads. It wants completion. It wants clarity. It wants to know what that look meant and whether everything is actually okay. So it keeps circling, not always loudly, but persistently. This is where a lot of your tiredness begins to make sense. You are not just experiencing life once. You experience it in real time, and again in reflection, then again in anticipation of what it might mean tomorrow. A 10-minute moment can become an hour of inner processing. That adds up faster than most people understand. Sometimes the tiredness starts before the day even really begins. You wake up and already feel slightly behind your own mind. The inbox is unopened, nobody has asked anything yet, and still your body feels cautious, as if it knows the world will ask for more noticing. You might move slowly in the morning, not because you lack discipline, but because your system is trying to gather itself. It is not laziness when your mind wakes up carrying residue from yesterday's noise, residue from unfinished feelings, residue from being available for too many subtle things at once. This is especially true if you're the kind of person others lean on, the one who notices when something is wrong before anyone says it. People feel safe around you because you are attentive, but attentiveness can become a hidden form of labor. You catch what others miss. You track moods, shifts, needs, discomfort, and the emotional undercurrent beneath ordinary words. And because you do it naturally, nobody sees that you are working. Sometimes you do not even see it until you are suddenly drained. That is the strange part. Highly aware people often hit exhaustion after the fact. In the moment, they can seem steady. Later, alone in the kitchen, the cost finally arrives. You put your keys down and feel your shoulders drop. The silence hits, and you realize how much of yourself was held tight. That first deep exhale at home can feel almost emotional, like your body has been waiting all day to stop performing normal. Sometimes you are not tired from what happened. You are tired from what you prevented yourself from feeling while it happened. You kept your voice even. You stayed considerate. You did not make the moment harder for anyone else. But self-control still burns energy, especially when you are also absorbing the atmosphere around you. Maybe someone across the table was irritated, and no one named it. Maybe a friend sounded off, and you carried the unease home. Maybe nothing dramatic happened at all. Just too many small signals, too close together, with nowhere to go. This is why overstimulation does not always look loud. Sometimes it looks like answering gently while your mind fills with static. Sometimes it looks like sitting quietly on the couch, unable to enjoy the evening. Sometimes it looks like being alone and still not feeling alone inside. Your system is still digesting, still sorting emotional debris from the day. And because the overload is subtle, you may shame yourself for it. You tell yourself you did not do enough to deserve being this tired. But exhaustion is not earned only through visible effort. It can also come from invisible vigilance, from tracking too much, from feeling too much, from staying mentally available long past the point where other people would have checked out. Highly aware people often have a hard time with the idea of doing nothing. Even in rest, part of the mind stays observant. You notice the hum of the fridge, the message you have not answered, the emotional tone of the day, the future conversation already forming. So your version of rest can accidentally become quieter stimulation, less movement, same mental activity. That is why sleep does not always fix it. Sleep helps the body, but not every mind knows how to fully unclench. Some people fall into sleep like a light switching off. You fall into layers. First the replay, then the analyzing, then the random memory from 6 years ago, then the imagined future conversation where you finally explained yourself perfectly. By the time your body rests, your mind has already run another shift. No wonder morning can feel unfinished. And this is where many highly aware people start blaming themselves. They think the problem is weakness, fragility, or poor coping. But often the deeper truth is simpler. Their awareness has never really been off duty. They have spent years reading nuance, anticipating tension, and managing their inner reactions before those reactions become visible. That creates competence, but it also creates wear. The cost is not always dramatic. Often it shows up as chronic, subtle depletion. A low battery feeling, a need for more alone time that people understand, a strange heaviness after ordinary life. And if you keep ignoring that cost, your personality starts getting mistaken for your exhaustion. You think you are boring, distant, or broken when you may just be overloaded. You may call yourself antisocial when what you really need is recovery. You may call yourself lazy when what you really need is less internal noise. That reframe matters, not because it turns sensitivity into something glamorous, but because it makes the experience honest. Being highly aware is not automatically a superpower. Sometimes it is just a lot to carry with grace. It can make you insightful, compassionate, perceptive, and deeply human. It can also make daily life more mentally expensive. Both things can be true at once. That is the mature version of this conversation. You do not need to romanticize your exhaustion to respect it. You just need to stop pretending it came from nowhere. Your tiredness has a story. It has patterns, inputs, and a nervous system behind it. The more clearly you see that, the less personal shame has room to grow. You stop treating your depletion like a character flaw. You start recognizing the hidden math. How one crowded store, one emotionally strange meeting, and one unresolved text can drain an entire evening. You start noticing why peace matters so much to you. Not because you are delicate, but because your system processes deeply. And deep processing needs real recovery. Not stolen minutes. Not fake rest with your mind still half alert. It needs moments where you do not have to read anything. No room, no face, no tone, no subtext. Just your own breath, your own thoughts, finally turning the volume down. That is often the part people around you do not understand. They see you doing very little, but they do not see how much happened inside you. They do not see the constant adjustments, the emotional calculations, the way your mind stayed awake inside ordinary moments. But you feel it. You feel it in the evening silence, in the heavy eyes, in the strange need to disappear for a while. And maybe the most healing part is this. Your exhaustion is not always a sign that you are failing at life. Sometimes it is a sign that you have been carrying life in finer detail than most people ever notice. You are not doing nothing. You are perceiving. You are absorbing. You are holding more than the moment appeared to contain. So if you feel tired after doing very little, look closer. There is a good chance your mind was doing far more than anyone could see. And maybe that is the truth you needed tonight. You are not weak for feeling exhausted by what looked small. You are someone whose inner world stays awake longer, listens deeper, and carries more. Of course you get tired. Not because you are too much. Not because you are incapable. But because being highly aware means even quiet days can leave footprints on your mind. An invisible weight is still weight.